I'll give that to you already. Welcome everyone at the Innovation Cafe. And also to our speakers that came all the way from Ukraine. Well, I don't know if Dominique, do you actually live in Ukraine as well?
I do.
Oh, well, there you go. All the way from Ukraine, guys. And also special thanks for the specific
arrangements. I broke my legs.
It must be tricky, so thank you very much for being here anyway. And also, Caravan Cultura, thank you for organizing them to be here. Just a short introduction of the Innovation Cafe. We're a weekly informal meetup where we try to connect the tech, design and knowledge community of Eindhoven. We do this by always creating some extra content by providing talks or workshops or discussions or whatever. Today this is organized by UNIT.City, all the way from Ukraine, like I said, and they're going to talk a little bit about their innovative new ecosystem, kind of, I can tell, right? Like that's how I could say it. So, like I said, we're here every week from 5:30. The program you can find on our website, which is over there. Also on social media, you can follow us there. And we're also live streaming today, so if you want to look it back, please feel free to do so. I hereby want to give the word to Dominique and the rest, Kateryna and Constantine, to talk a little bit about their concept. So please take it away.
Cool, thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. I'm going to start by introducing ourselves. I'm Dominique Piotet, I'm the CEO of UNIT.City. You will discover what is UNIT.City in a second. And I'm French and American. I grew up in Paris, but I'm an entrepreneur. I started my company in San Francisco. I lived 18 years in Silicon Valley, and that guy over here, Constantine, came all the way from Kiev to San Francisco to grab me and to tell me, no, you have to move to Ukraine because it's much cooler. And I didn't believe him. And then I went, and then I took my family, and we all moved to Kiev for what I consider the coolest project in my career by far. So we will share. So on my left, Kateryna, she's our CMO. Maybe something about you?
Well, I joined the company, the project, the movement not so long ago. I have lots of years in marketing, and I think that UNIT.City is pretty much the best thing that has happened to me professionally. It's an amazing, unprecedented project for Ukraine, and maybe even for, in some ways, entire world. You'll hear what we do and what we actually envision is even more than what we do already. And it's an honor that I can be communicating this amazing thing, this kind of miracle that is happening in Ukraine, and pretty much the center of Europe, in the center of Kyiv, in the center of the city. So that's about me.
Hi, my name is Constantine, and I'm really happy to be here today with you, and I'm really thankful for having us and for your time to listen somebody who came from Ukraine and with some project with the nice name of UNIT.City. I'm a managing partner in UNIT.City, and I'm that guy who makes all people around believe that UNIT.City is the best project of their life, and I hope that it's very true. And today we will share more information about what is that, why we are here, what is our mission, what we are doing, why we are doing that, why we have a chance to succeed, why people are so impressed once they are first time in UNIT.City, and how we can all do business together, collaborate, to transfer the knowledge, to transfer the ideas, to visit each other and be friends. So that's the point.
Yeah, so we are all here in a learning trip because we wanted to discover what's going on in one of the cities that is considered the most innovative in the world. I have to say that we had already two amazing days. We went to many places. It's super inspiring. We come 20 years after you. And so Okay, 15. Well, okay, we can debate. And we don't have a Philips to build something on. So, but we have a few things. We have a strong tech culture. We have a few revolutions. And actually, I think we kind of like, that rebellious spirit. And we have some amazing talent. I'm going to start with showing you a video. That video is super cheesy. I'm a lot in it. But I do like it because I think it kind of show you our vision and what we're trying to achieve. So, the video. Вітаю, мене звати Dominique. I'm French and American. I just moved from San Francisco to Kyiv. I'm the new CEO of UNIT.City, and I'm here to support the opening to the world of UNIT.City and make it more international. We are building here as going to be one of the largest innovation parks in Europe and probably even in the world. We are here in Ukraine where we have all those talents who are willing today in 2020 to create the great companies of tomorrow, the unicorns of tomorrow. My mission is also to create an ecosystem and to support an ecosystem where we can create great companies, the next unicorns. My dream is to have those unicorns not coming from Silicon Valley, not coming from France, not coming from the UK, not coming from Israel or China, but the next big unicorns, I want them to come from here, from UNIT.City. That is what we are trying to do. This is my mission. In 2025, UNIT.City is the place on the top 5 on all the innovation cluster in the world. In 2025, UNIT.City is a unique place where people not only work, but where also they live. We have UNIT Home, and they can live here, they can work here. It's a place where life is easier, life is also more sustainable. UNIT.City is all about education. Actually, we started UNIT.City with education because we believe talent is at the very center of anything we do in terms of innovation. So we started with UNIT Factory, but developing or educating the best coder in the world is not enough. You don't need just hard skills, you need the soft skills. We need to have not only developers, but we need to build managers. We need to create people who are going to be willing to create company. This is why, for example, we created the UNIT School of Business to train and form the entrepreneur of tomorrow. Somebody told me you should check out what's going on in Ukraine. And there is something amazing called UNIT.City. I flew in, I found this place, and I fell in love. Thank you guys. UNIT.City, please. My friends are going to jump on the conversation, and of course, question and are more than welcome. I'm going to start by talking to you a little bit about the Ukrainian ecosystem, because I don't think we can really understand why we're building UNIT.City if we don't understand the ground on which we are trying to build it. So I'm going to skip this one. I'm going to go to this one that is nicer. Well, it was. So the tech industry is really booming in Ukraine. It's very clear. It's a 26% growth from 2017 to 2018, and we see the same number over and over again. Actually, we now have in 2019 more than 200,000 developers. And we anticipate that by 2022, we're going to have 300,000 developers, thanks to, well, actually school that we have, UNIT Factory, but thanks also to the university in Ukraine. And tech provide 4.5 billion in terms of revenue, in terms of export. It's the third sector in Ukraine. However, and I'm going to be transparent with you. I don't really like those 5.5 billion because I feel like we are exporting our knowledge. It's a lot about outsourcing, which is a big business in the IT sector in Ukraine. And I don't feel like we have yet the culture of creating products, creating company. We are still more in a culture of outsourcing, which is one of the things that UNIT.City is trying to solve by providing that platform where entrepreneurs can really create companies, find talents, find funding, find accelerators and events. I will come back to that. And basically nothing was invested in startup. 337 million. I don't know if you know how much money was invested in Silicon Valley last year. Do you have any idea? $50 billion. Which is a third of the entire VC money in the world. And the entire VC money in the US is 100 billion, and the rest is basically the rest of the world. So we don't have yet a good funding ecosystem to support the growth of our startup. I'm going to pass this one. So this is really the growth of the IT industry. As you can see, it's almost 5% of the GDP. It's going to be 6.5% next year. And this is the VC investment. So we started from nothing in 2014. I mean, in 2014 we had a little revolution. It was interesting. We are at 337, and as you can see, it's mostly early stage. Which means that basically we have some money to start, but as soon as you want even seed money or A or B or C, it's extremely complicated. However, we have success stories, and we have a few really nice success stories. The first Ukrainian unicorn is called Grammarly, and I don't know if you knew that Grammarly was Ukrainian, but nobody knows that Grammarly is Ukrainian, so probably we have a little question about storytelling and marketing our country. But however, it's a Ukrainian company. But you can see that we have also some nice exit. Ring, Amazon purchased Ring a few years ago. Luxury was bought by Snapchat. Rakuten bought Slides. Google made a few acquisitions. So it's starting. It's starting. Oh, and we have the National Startup Fund. Do you want to talk about the National Startup Fund? Because we just have the president, the prime minister, and everybody giving those first round.
Sure. But maybe before going to National Startup Fund, I'll tell you a few words about why it happened in Ukraine, why we have this boom of IT developers and IT and digital sector in Ukraine. Probably, I'm not sure how it's about in Netherlands, but what we see from Ukraine, that the average salary in Europe is approximately from 2 to 2.5 thousand euro per month. That's what we believe. And in Ukraine, it's impossible to have it because when you graduate from university, the first job that you have, if you're graduated law department, maybe 400 euro. In retail, maybe 400, maybe 500 euro. In medicine, it's about the same money. But if you are graduated in IT, then immediately you have 1,500, and it's just the beginning. And then in a year time, you can have 2,000. And in the 5 years, you can have 2,500, which is like 5 or 6 times more efficient than, than all the other professions. And that's actually the chance for our young people to have great salaries and to stay in Ukraine, because cost of living in Ukraine is very different than here in Europe, and they can feel very, very comfortable staying in Ukraine, having those kind of payrolls. That's why. So that's what creates the demand of the education in IT. That's why so many youngsters are there. They understand that they can be so efficient. They can get whatever they want in terms of money. And in one day, why it happened? Because the IT sector was never regulated in Ukraine. And that's cool because it was by their own, and people were free of coding. The taxation was very liberal. It's still liberal. And people understood that, okay, so this sector is something that we need to go there and to stay. In certain point in 2017, state understood that they have to support startups in some way. You know, our team, we are traveling a lot around the world. We've been to Silicon Valley like 7 times, in Israel, in Estonia, in China, in South Korea. I mean, everywhere. We are learning, and we see what attention is paid for the startup community in Israel or in Estonia or even in here. You know, so that's some state understand that startups is something that lets economy grow in the end of the day, that creates innovations. In 2017, there was an idea to create the National Startup Fund, and in 2018 it was created with the total yearly budget of 300 million hryvnias, which is $15 million per year, but understanding that we don't have much startups yet, because people who are involved in the IT, they're more working as the outsourcers for the companies in Valley, in Israel, or in Europe. So the states start to create that movement of startuppers to support them and to give them the grants. And actually, I think that it was a very smart move, and the administration of the fund is, I mean, they are learning, but it's really good. And last Friday, we had the first winners of those teams who got the grant from the state, and the president of Ukraine and the prime minister of Ukraine. They've been to UNIT.City to give away those grants to the team. And for us, it was so important because, you know, we are working with a lot of international companies and embassies, because for embassies, it's also important to show their companies, their business, that in Ukraine we have something great, and we always have a lot of visitors of different embassies. And in that day, on Friday, we had the visitor from Japan. You know, in Japan, culture is cool because the hierarchy is very, you know, is very respectful. So if you you're in the high position, you know, I mean, you know, the Japanese culture is great. And 2 people came from Japan, and the first thing that they see is like president of Ukraine is walking. And then prime minister is walking. And said, wow, I mean, it's always like that? And I said, well, I mean, you know, yeah, it happens. So. And then we start to communicate that, yeah, the members of parliament of Japan, we've been here also. So we had a tour with them. Members of Japan, for them it's also the something. And ambassador was here, and here's the picture of the ambassador standing on the place like where you are standing right now. And for them, it was just imagine they were flying for half of the world to open up the R&D center, and they have the support of the first managers of the country and of their own country, and they were like totally shocked. Yeah, so startup movement is starting, and it's supported from all the states. And yeah, now we have pitching date number 2 for the next fund, which opened for the next, I think, 6 months or something. Yeah, so yeah, that's the short story about the startup fund. I'm sorry for taking so long.
No, it's okay. It was a short story about the startup fund. Well, I'm going to pass this one, and I'm going to move to UNIT.City. So I think you understood, right? We have an ecosystem that has strong components with talents. We're lacking money. We're lacking a startup culture, and we need to build this. And also, what is important, and it's really part of our vision. We want to do it for Ukraine. Actually, this morning I saw a very interesting figure, which is when Philips shut down, people in Eindhoven, they don't leave, they stay. When Detroit start to have problem, in the US people leave. Well, in Ukraine, people leave. People leave to find a better job, especially if they are developers. We want to stop that. And really our vision is to create an ecosystem where talented people can learn and can stay and can find funding and can find support to really create their future within Ukraine. So basically we started with that. So UNIT.City is an old BMW factory. I call it BMW, but it's not BMW. It was a BMW factory that our Russian friend took from Germany when they left after World War II, and they decided to install it in Kiev, where that beautiful factory was producing excellent motorcycle for the entire empire. What's the name of it? Ural? No? Kiev Motorcycle Factory. We took over that factory and we decided actually to keep that beautiful chimney that is actually really high. That is for us a symbol of the old world linking to the new world. There's a light in the chimney. Actually, we just won a big award design for it that is almost visible from the moon. We don't know, I haven't been, so I'm still waiting. But we call that, those are a moonshot, you know. So this is a symbol of, okay, this is what we're aiming for. And this is basically what the UNIT factory was looking like 4 years ago. And this is 2015, this is 2016. What you see here, UNIT factory, is our coding school. And we're really proud of this. It's very important for us. We decided to start with a coding school. We have 1,000 students in this coding school. They're staying with us for almost 3 years. The program is inspired by School 42 in France, but we decided to adapt to our own principle for many reasons, including the one that I'm French and I love French people. And it's peer-to-peer learning, and it's problem-solving learning. Really interesting. So those students, they have to stay 3 years with us, and they have to progress solving bigger problems, but they cannot solve those problems alone. They have to find peers, to create teams, to etc. It's extremely successful. The acceptance rate is around 4% for each of our batch, so it's very competitive to get in. And we pay for all of it. It's almost free. It's not completely free, but it's almost free. The only thing is we ask the student to stay 3 years in Ukraine. They don't have to work for us. They don't have to work with us, but we ask them to stay 3 years in Ukraine. It's key. Education is really at the center of anything we do. And this is UNIT.City today, 3 years after. So we've made a lot of progress. It's only 7% of what we're going to build. Yes. Yes. It was this summer. Yeah. Yes. Today you will see actually another building built in the back. And it's only built at 7%. We are on 25 hectare territory. And really we're building a city. The idea is, and actually, Kostya, can you explain this one? Because this is your favorite. The 5 pillars.
Sure. So I like it because we have 5 pillars in UNIT.City. Pillar number 1 is education. And education is super important because, again, we were traveling a lot and we see that the most wanted resource everywhere is talent. And luckily in Ukraine we have those smart people, which love to work in IT. So we are grab the best people with acceptance rates of 4%, and we educate them. We create the talented developers. In educational cluster, we have Unit Factory, it's a coding school. We also have the accelerator. Accelerator is also have an interesting business model because they're working with the startups and with the corporates. In this, in the current year, they are working with Ocean, they're working with L'Oreal. It's a global companies, and that's why they are able to attract startups not only from Ukraine but also from area, from Poland, from Belarus, from other countries. So in IT we have school, and we have accelerator. The same we have in business education. You know that in Ukraine is a post-USSR country, and we didn't have much of business in USSR and no knowledge about entrepreneurship. And we decided to create our business school. It's called Unit School of Business, USB. The idea of the school is that we bring together people who already have their own small or medium business. It's not like a regular business school. When you go there for 2 years and you have a lot of theory and then you're just thinking how to implement it and if you need it or not. In here, it's like short program for 4 months for those who are already in business, but they have some challenges. For example, I have the small bakery and I would like to scale up. And always with scaling, there are a lot of issues happening. And I understand that they're a challenge for me, and so I go to the school and say that, look, this is my business model. This is how I was working before, and that's my target. So could you please teach me what should I do to avoid the mistakes and to be successful in my scaling? So they take your personal case, and they develop that case. So they bring the knowledge for you how to do it correctly. Of course, as a side, they have a lot of nice program like Scrum, like Agile, like Lean, all those things that, without them, you cannot be successful in the world. And so we have the school, and on top of that, we also have industrial accelerator for entrepreneurships, for entrepreneurs. That's it. Because once you understand how you scale up, then probably you need to have finance. And then you can pitch to the industrial accelerator, said, look, this is my model, this is what I would like to do, and that's the amount that I would like to attract. And if they're successful, so industrial accelerator will invest and will buy not more than 10-15%, just to support them with the knowledge that we already have in legal, in mentoring, in finance, just to make sure that they are moving in the right directions. In that case, we're just developing their businesses together. So pillar number 1 is education. It's clear. I will be shorter with the other pillars. Pillar number 2, I can talk about UNIT.City forever. So yeah. Pillar number 2 is community itself. It's what we see here. We have great event halls, 3 of them in UNIT.City, and every day something happening. Last year we had 420 events, starting with hackathons, ending with corporate presentations, summits. We attract beautiful speakers around the world just to have the audience like that, so we can share, or they can share some opinions. We can find some ways how to collaborate. But the most important is that we are uniting all the innovation people, all the digital people within Kiev and within Ukraine. Because we believe that UNIT.City is the gateway of the digital sector, the digital world of the digital sector of Ukraine. So community and events, that's the pillar number 2, super important. Everybody knows that something cool is happening to UNIT.City, in UNIT.City this day, almost every day. Pillar number 3 is labs and R&Ds. Currently we have 2 labs. One is the prototyping lab we're doing together with Fab Lab, Fabricator, the guys from MIT. So they have like thousands of labs around the world, great people and fantastic teams. That's the prototyping lab is more used for 3D printing, 3D materials, modeling, printing out of the composite, of the resins, of titanium, very precise printings. They also have the ceramic cluster, the wood cluster, so you can manufacture something with the woods, the electromechanical zone, and so, I mean, it's so cool. The idea is to connect those startups which are working with the products with the ability to make the prototype of those products. That's number one, but number two for me is even more closer because we are doing a great workshop for kids. On the weekend, a lot of like pupils from the high school, they're just doing their own projects. We learn them how to make the models, what is the difference of the materials, how to work with all those materials, and it really motivates them for future growth and for future education in tech. So pillar number 3 is lab plus R&D. The another lab that we have is a laser lab, but okay, I will another lab. But in the end, we would like to have at least 8 different labs for people to work in, including the medical cluster. Pillar number 4 is the infrastructure. We call it infrastructure. People sometimes they mixing it up with the business campuses, but for us, it's not about the square meters. It's about the infrastructure that keeps all the startups, all the community, all the people in one place. And this infrastructure is fantastic because we are working hard on the architect. Usually we do the construction after the open architect contest. So we attract architects from the market to deliver their own vision of the next building that we built with all the storytelling, with the, so it's cool to be a platform for creative class and to be able to implement whatever they think it's cool. And I mean, and actually the chimney that Dominic has told you about, it was also, we didn't know what to do with that, whether we should demolish it or just to keep it. And then we did the open contest. And 19 countries were participants, 90 architects from 19 countries were participants of that contest. And the guy from England won. And this year they won the LEED award, the biggest urban light contest. And our chimney with this light spotting into this, we hope, space, they won it. So it's really cool. And that's a result of this open platform that everybody can be a part of. So we're doing the same with the buildings, and the buildings that now under construction, that's super cool. It's just, it will be something to see. So we invite you in 2 years in UNIT.City to have a chance to see how cool it is. All the buildings are certified according to LEED standards. That means that we are caring about the electricity, heat, water, gray water management, and so on. And the pillar number 5, it's the residential part. We believe that it's so cool not to commute. I know it's not a big problem for Eindhoven because it's relatively very small, but in Kiev it takes like an hour for commuting, sometimes even more. So we decided to be able, for those who are working in UNIT.City, for their families to stay just next to them and to have all the infrastructure for kids, like kindergarten, school, fitness, medical, hospital, the medical cluster, the hotel, the park for almost 3 hectares. So it's really, really nice and safe place to stay, because what is combining all of those 5 pillars is smart and safe technologies. That everybody has their own vision what smart is, what smart city is. But we just took the ISO standard, which was published last May, and we just go strict on that, with the face recognition systems, with the integration of light, integration of door passing, and reading of the place of the car. So, you know, the algorithms and AI will think what is better for you in the weather conditions, and they just track all the emergency situation within the unit city. For example, if somebody in unit city do like this, then the camera spotted it, and the signal goes directly to the control center. It means that something happens, like extraordinary. Or like this, if somebody spot like this, something happened. Usually we don't have the problem with the weapons, but again, you can program it in a different way. If somebody runs, or if somebody fall down, or even if there is a smoke in the room, we spot it even before the detector have it on the top. So it's really cool, because it's impossible to observe like 300 cameras in the same time. Even for 100 people, it's just impossible. But our algorithms, they see that something happening, and they push out the notification, and of course we can react more efficiently. Okay, Tom. Okay, all right. Okay. So 5 pillars.
And as you can see, we care about privacy a lot. This is why we have artificial intelligence. And no, I'm kidding. Of course we do. And this is also something that is really interesting. We want to build this with the community. And we will have the technology, but we will also build it with the community. For us, it's important. I mean, having facial recognition that is forbidden in most countries, as you know, because of privacy questions. We will work very differently. We want to make that technology available, and we want to try, but we want to try with the community. And this is why, for example, we're launching soon a hackathon where we're going to ask the people working with us and living with us already to build those services. I know this topic is very sensitive in Europe, and it's of course very sensitive for us. I'm going to pass the mic to Katia, because I really want her to talk about the idea of building a movement, building a community, because for us, it's very important not to build another ecosystem. I lived most of my life in Silicon Valley. I don't want to duplicate Silicon Valley. I think there's no need. I think that would be absolutely counterproductive. And actually, in fact, I think we will fail from day one because it's not what the world needs. Silicon Valley is a very specific place, and I know it really well. So, but however, we really want to try to build a community. And actually, we've learned a lot about what you guys are doing here on trying to build a community, because I think this is the most complex and difficult thing to do. And we have several ideas, or we're exploring, but maybe you can share a little bit of the things we're doing with our residents.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Exactly. Doing things with the residents is definitely part of the marketing efforts and part of the UNIT.City story, because one of the story is we want to be heard. We want to spread all over the world as UNIT.City and be heard as the technology hub, but we also want our community to be empowered, and we want everyone who works with UNIT.City to feel that they are part of it. And our main idea is that people actually get together, and the ideas are born out of their interaction within UNIT.City. That's why we have accelerators and coding school, and we have a lot of community events where people come together and they are targeted at different. Sometimes they are targeted at problem solving. Sometimes they are targeted at sharing of information. For example, as we come back from this trip, we met with so many fascinating people, and we've got so many insights on how Eindhoven does it, on how Brainport has done it, and we want to get our partners, and we want to get our residents, and we want to get our teams, and we even want to get our subcontractors who help us communicate together, and we want to share this knowledge. And
we're jealous that you have Peter and we don't.
yes. Yes, we're trying to recruit Peter, but he's strong. He's not giving in. But basically, yes, we know we are just little parts. And the true movement is created when these parts come together. And there should be a magnet for that. And we are trying to create those magnets by events, by empowering our startups, as already been said, by letting people work together. For example, we have a couple advertising agencies. We create situations where advertising agencies can actually service our startups and help them to create identities and to define themselves for the markets and for the pitching. We have ideas of, we are actually planning a big pitching day. We have lots of pitching days in Ukraine, but we want to be like the epicenter, and we want to have that creative mass of venture funds, of investors, and of startups that come to UNIT.City, and we have like couple days full of that powerful interaction and matchmaking and pitching, and we want to have those startups from neighboring countries and investors actually from all over the world. We are very integrated into the city. For example, our next cool event is going to be Music Fest. And you would ask, what has music to do with innovation per se? But music is art, as we learn, as we were confirmed today, even but by what we see in Eindhoven. Art is like the other part of brain that you need for now we are very strong on technical part of the brain in UNIT.City, but we need to introduce the art, the design, and so we are working with the coolest music producers in Ukraine actually, and known internationally by now, and we will be a big part of this all Kiev music festival, and we will also host we also working on the project together with a third NGO, with like a third sector player, a powerful player, Tech Ukraine. We are working on Pitch Ukraine Day. We are gonna have get creatives and tech people and startups and businesses together and think how we can lift up the image of Ukraine and how we can redefine Ukraine for the entire world. And the more Ukraine is redefined for the entire world, the better we are, because we are part of Ukraine and we are all about keeping it all centered in Ukraine and keeping the people here and creating, flying, creating and flying off globally, but staying rooted in Ukraine. Thank you.
So thank you. I will just finish by giving you just a few numbers. UNIT.City in 2025, that will be around 20,000 people that will be on the territory almost every day. That would be several schools, several hundreds of companies. We already have 110 companies in UNIT.City. That will be more education. That will be a smart city. But it's not just about Kiev. It's also about a network. We are building, and we will open in the next few months another UNIT.City in Kharkiv, which is a very important city on the eastern part of the country, where we have a very important tech community. We will open UNIT.City in Lviv as well, which is on the western part of Ukraine, close to the Polish border. We really want to create a movement, and we actually want everybody to come and play with us. We need you guys, and so I officially invite you to come and share, because because we're starting, and well, I'm pretty sure you guys are still starting because it's kind of an endless journey. But for us, it's still the very beginning. What's important for us is to create a community and a new culture, which is extremely difficult to do. I heard a lot speaking about the hippie culture of the Silicon Valley, which is not something we have in Ukraine. So we will have to invent our own culture, something that fit us, but that is linked to the future, that is linked to creating a better country for our people. So thank you very much. Thank you for sharing so openly with us during those 3 days. And you should come to Ukraine and to UNIT.City. You're our permanent guest. And we will come back. Questions? Yes, questions, remarks, comments.
I have
Please.
one.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Jenya, and I once ran a renewable energy incubator out in Africa. Different purpose, electrification, but love the space. So thank you for the presentation, really interesting. My question is more on the business model. One of our challenges was the cash flow, because you have the education, which is a cash outflow, and then you invest in the companies towards the later part of life, which is where the cash inflow comes in. So just curious, how do you manage the upfront cost and also the running cost of a place like this? Thank you.
Kostya is more the money guy. Do you want to answer, or do I? Okay. No, I can. Whatever. Okay. Excellent question. We have the same problem. It's tough. So we decided, and it's really important for us to be completely privately funded. So we have no governmental money. It's absolutely key for us. Not because we don't trust the government. Actually, we just signed a big agreement with the Ministry of Education last Friday to have closer cooperation on what we can do together. But we want to stay independent from government funding, which means that we have to raise money. So our main investor is our funder, but building a park like this is a big project that is going to be very cash incentive. So basically, we're raising money, and we're very frugal. In Silicon Valley, there's two strategies when you raise money. There's the one where you spend all your money on your marketing and events. I call that the smoothie startup. It's like you put everything and you do a real good smoothie. You go to all the events, and then at the end of the day, you don't work on your product, and you just put 10% so that's one thing. That's not us. We're more on the other side, that is the cockroach startup. And as you know, the cockroach is the last animal that will survive a nuclear war. Not that we are pessimistic. I think we are very optimistic people. We believe in the future, but we would rather be ready for whatever will happen, because cash flow is definitely an issue. More and more, we call that impact investment. Look, we started with Unit Factory. We're making zero money. It costs us millions every year. But we strongly believe that if we don't do it, nobody will do it. And this is not going to be successful for the country. So for us, it's impact investment. But Jesus, it's tough.
Thank you. Very interesting, what I heard. Do you make a distinction between innovation and problem solving?
Do I take it? Okay, that's my stuff. That's my stuff. It's really interesting, because the more I think about problem solving, the more I think it's not enough. I've been raised in Silicon Valley as an entrepreneur, and I think we use them way too much in Silicon Valley, less now, but way too much in Ukraine. We use all those business canvas. And it's what is the problem you're trying to solve? What is going to be your resources? What is going to be your revenue model? I think it's a very narrow way of seeing things. And the more I think about Silicon Valley, the more I feel that they're not solving any problems. They're solving interesting business questions. I want to go from A to B, and Uber is maybe a more optimal way. No matter what, if it destroys jobs or if it creates more traffic, or which is now proven. But actually, and they create the monopoly, and you know the story. I push, and actually it's in the value of UNIT.City, I push the approach of wholeness, which means that we want to approach those problems in their globality, not just, I'm going to fix a small problem. No. In building UNIT.City, I just don't want to do, we're doing innovation alone. No, we're building a city. And we want that city to be smart. And no, we don't really know what a smart city is. No, we don't really know exactly what's acceptable, not acceptable. No, we don't really know how impactful it will be. But if we don't approach this in the wellness of the thing, we're not going to be really innovative. So yes, I make a big distinction between innovation and problem solving. Sorry for the long answer. I'm very passionate about those topics.
Thank you for your talk. It's quite inspiring and ambitious. But I was wondering, what's your USP? Because there are quite a lot of similar initiatives in Europe.
USB, Unit School of Business?
No, USP.
Unique selling proposition.
Yeah, because... yeah.
Very interesting point. You know, I always tell that story, and actually that's the thing I told the first day I came to Ukraine. There was a press conference and people told me about that question. And I always say nobody goes to Silicon Valley to rent an office space. That would be the most stupid thing you do. So people go to Silicon Valley to have access to talent, to money, to ecosystem, to network, to a global market, to etc. This is my unique selling proposition. I want to create a community, and I want people to come to UNIT.City because of the community, because they're going to have access of our 1,000 talents that are going to get out of school almost every year, because they will have access to our unique ecosystem of we have 4 accelerators, 4 incubators, and this is really my proposition. Does it exist in other places in the world? Of course. But I do think that there is a unique proposition in Ukraine, not because of the cost of the talent, actually, because as Kostya mentioned, talents are not expensive in Ukraine, and you can really debate, do I have a team in France or do I have a team in Ukraine? In terms of salary, it's a real question. But, and this is what we're fighting for. Nobody knows that we have the best talent in the world. And I'm serious about this. Once again, I mean, I had many Ukrainian friends in Silicon Valley. I know what they're worth. If you talk about AR, VR, if you talk about blockchain, if you talk about artificial intelligence, if you talk about machine learning, I mean, we have almost the best mathematicians that are available today. And so I think nobody knows it. I think we have a real problem in storytelling. This is why actually I'm fascinated by the way you guys change Eindhoven. And and by the way, we decided after our meeting with Peter that we're going to make UNIT.City an open source brand. We love that idea. But you know what I mean? It's really what it is. And once again, if we don't make money, but we will.
Just to add, because it's a nice question, and actually, Dominic asked me first time when we met, and you know, my answer to that is that there are so many Ukrainians around the world. They are like hardworking, and they're responsible, they're open, and they're like adequate. In Silicon Valley, almost in every company you have Ukrainians. And once you're working with Ukrainians, they said, well, yeah, that's nice people, yeah. But nobody knows how to work with Ukraine, because all the Ukrainians came from Ukraine. Yeah. But, I mean, nobody knows, I mean, who is that? If I would like to open Ukraine for myself, how do I do it? So UNIT.City is the gate for everybody, the companies, countries, people, just to understand, I mean, where those people came from. And there are still a lot of them staying in Ukraine, just believe me. And we are rising them up, and we are asking them to stay in Ukraine and to be great and successful in Ukraine. So UNIT.City is the gateway to all Ukrainian digital and innovation teams, people, and resources. That's my answer.
So does
I'll just add, basically play on what the guys have said. But these days, yesterday and today, we had this interesting discussion that it's the need that pushes people towards creativity. Like when there is Eindhoven flourished because there was a concrete problem and the need. And you had resources, for sure, that came from Philips, but there was a need. It happens, I mean, for example, Bauhaus architecture started because there was a need. And stuff like that. And we have in Ukraine we had, 70 years of Soviet Union, but probably one of the only good things that came from that, we have very strong polytechnics. So polytechnic universities in institutes in Ukraine are among the strongest in the world, and recognizably. And that's why we have all this very strong, very powerful, very good mathematicians and engineers. And that's why Ukraine, at one point, first 20 years after independence, flourished as the outsourcing heaven. Because first of all, we are Europeans. We think like Europeans, almost close to that. And we are very responsible and we are very smart. But as a nation, it's objective. Research says that. And very humble, as you can see. But forgive us that.
The 1 kilometer smartest
but that's
in the world, so,
yes, we are on par with you. So on that, but that's that's what we've got. You had to have higher education in Soviet Union to survive. So that's why probably we have that kind of statistics. And now the need is kind of reforming itself because Ukraine is not producing added value. Ukraine is good with outsourcing grain, with outsourcing oils, with outsourcing IT, but Ukraine has a very big challenge. We are learning to work together to create added value. And one of the purposes for UNIT.City is to be that place. We want to learn ourselves to work together to create value, and we want to teach others to work together to create value. And I think this is probably our main USP, people in Ukraine, and the challenge we are facing, because Ukrainian challenge is not like any other challenge, because every challenge is unique. And to respond to that challenge, you create slightly different, movements, slightly different products, and that's fascinating.
I have a question to ask about, because you're focusing mostly on Ukrainian people. How do you see that working together with, for example, internationals? Because you can imagine, there might be interesting connections to make there. How do you integrate that into the process? Because Eindhoven, for example, is mostly focused, is partially thriving because of all the internationals that come here. So I'm wondering how you intend to do that or are already doing that.
That's actually a very interesting question and a very interesting challenge. Last year in UNIT.City alone, we had 80,000 visitors from 60 different countries. So people are curious. Now, from turning them to being curious to doing business is a little bit different. We decided to start country by country. So 3 years ago, we started the Ukraine-Israeli Summit. So we go to Israel and we have that summit in UNIT.City. This year we are doing the US, actually I should say the Silicon Valley Ukraine Summit, where we're going to go there and we're going to bring people. Now, the biggest challenge for us is to bring investors. In fact, that's the main question, and we're working on it. Today, when you want to get money in Ukraine, the interest rate is about 15%, sometimes 20%. Money is too expensive for us, so we have to go get the money abroad, which is really interesting because getting those investors who are going to believe in us is going to open the doors. We need that label, and actually Kostya is working endlessly on that.
Any last questions? Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Then, thanks, guys. Please give them a round of applause. So I just want to thank you in person for coming again. I just want to point out to you that we're going to go to the bar, have a drink and a snack. There will also be dinner afterwards that you can join. There's an Innovation Cafe special, where it's a meat, fish, or vegetarian dish, meat or fish for €17.50, or a vegetarian for €15. I also would like to invite you to join us next week. It's going to be organized by one of our partners, Art and Tech Society. So please join us, bring someone with you, or share our event with other people. Yeah, that's basically what I wanted to say. So please join us at the bar, and please don't forget to bring your glasses with you. Thanks.